Welcome to Online Math. Today we will look at solving equations with a repeated unknown, and this is part 2. So in our last video, we looked at simple equations where we had to expand the brackets and collect like terms and then use inverse operation to solve the equation. Today we will look at equations where we will focus on number 2 here, where we need to remove the unknown from one side of the equation. So let's take a look at the example together. In this equation that we have 4x plus 3 equals to 23 minus x. Notice that you have x on the left-hand side of the equation, and there's another x on the right-hand side of the equation. So the first step would be to put the x's together on one side of the equation. With this equation, I am going to move this negative x so that the x's are sitting on the left. How I can do that is by using an inverse operation. The inverse of minus x is to plus x. So I will need to plus x on both sides. Then minus x plus x equals to 0, so cross it out. On the left, I have 4x plus x, and that equals to 5x. Everything else plus 3 will have to move down. The equal sign and the 23 will also have to move down. Now I am left with an equation where I only have one x on one side of the equation. So let's go ahead and use inverse operation to isolate the unknown, the x. So I'm going to get rid of every one, the 5 and the 3, so the x is left by itself in the end. The inverse of plus 3 is to minus 3, so I need to minus 3. Plus 3 minus 3 is equal to 0, so cross it out. And on the left-hand side, I have 5x left equals 23 minus 3 equals to 20. 5x means 5 times x, and so the inverse of times 5 is divide by 5. So I need to divide both sides by 5. On the left, 5 over 5 is equal to 1. So we can cross out the 5's, and I have isolated the x, which I want to do to find the unknown x. And on the right, I have 20 over 5. 20 divided by 5 equals to 4. So the final answer is x equals to 4. Let's have a look at the practice questions together. Number 1. The equation says 2x minus 1 equals to 5 plus x. Notice that we have x on the left and x on the right. So the first step would be to remove the x from one side of the equation. And I'm going to remove the one on the right so that I'm going to be left with just the x's on my left-hand side of the equation. So let's use an inverse operation to remove this x. The inverse of plus x is to minus x, so I have to minus x from both sides of the equation. On the right, plus x minus x equals to 0, so cross it out. On the left, I have 2x minus x, so I'm left with 1x, which I'm going to write x, and everything else, minus 1 equals to 5. It needs to move down, so minus 1 equals to 5. Now, in order to isolate my x, I need to get rid of this minus 1 by using an inverse. Inverse of minus 1 is plus 1, so I will need to plus 1, plus 1. Minus 1 plus 1 equals to 0, so cross it out, and I have x left on the left-hand side. On the right, I have 5 plus 1, which equals to 6. Question number 2. With this equation, we first need to expand the bracket. Then we will need to remove the unknown from one side of the equation. So let's start by expanding the bracket. For you to expand the bracket, you need to times. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times positive 2 is plus 6 equals x minus 2. Then I'm going to remove this x on the right. This x over here is a positive x. So the inverse of positive x is minus x. So I need to minus x from both sides of the equation. On the left, I have 3x minus x, and that equals to 2x. The plus 6 and the equal sign will move down. And the x minus x is 0, so cross it out. And I have negative 2, and this will need to move down. We now have 2x plus 6 equals to negative 2. In order to find the value of x, we will need to get rid of the plus 6 and the times 2 by using the inverse operations. Let's start by getting rid of the plus 6. The inverse of plus 6 is minus 6, so minus 6 from both sides. Plus 6 minus 6 is 0, so cross it out. I'm left with the 2x on the left-hand side. Equal sign moves down, and on the right, negative 2 minus 6 equals to negative 8. Then the inverse of times 2 is divide by 2, so I will divide both sides by 2. On the left, 2 over 2 is equal to 1, so cross it out, and I'm left with my x. And on the right, I have negative 8 over 2, so negative 8 divided by 2 is equal to negative 4. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.